Crowds are fascinating things. Think for a moment about a football crowd. Thousands of people, many who have never met, all wearing the same colours, on one side red, the other side blue, singing the same songs, sharing the same emotions, and when the team scores, the crowd erupts with joy. When things go badly, the same crowd can turn restless, angry, even violent. Crowds matter. We see this not just in sport, but in so many areas of life. At concerts where strangers sing the same words at the top of their lungs. At rallies where shared passion creates a sense of purpose. At protests where people gather to demand change. Crowds shape how we feel, how we behave, and even who we believe ourselves to be. They help form our identity. We are influenced sometimes deeply by the people we stand among. So yes, crowds matter. But the way we come together matters even more. With that in mind, let's turn to our Bible reading. Jesus entering Jerusalem from Matthew 21. Palm Sunday marks the beginning of Holy Week. So much is happening in this reading. Theologian Tom Wright describes this passage as the climax of an opera or a Shakespeare play. Think about this passage. Jesus enters Jerusalem riding a donkey, not a powerful horse, unlike Pilate entering Jerusalem leading a military parade, horses, chariots, soldiers and weapons. Complete contrast to Jesus, who travels from the opposite direction on a donkey. Christian theologians believe the symbolism is captured prophetically in the Old Testament, Zechariah 9 verse 9, where it says, "Behold, your king is coming to you humble and mounted on a donkey and on a colt, the foal of a donkey." W.D. Davis and Dale C. Allison note that the donkey is a symbol of peace, not conquest. Matthew's account of Jesus entering Jerusalem as king is different from the other Gospels of Mark, Luke and John. The first difference is this: two animals instead of one. Matthew uniquely mentions both a donkey and a colt being brought to Jesus, whilst Mark, Luke and John mention only one animal, a colt that has never been ridden. Why does Matthew do this? Matthew is emphasizing the fulfillment of Zechariah, lowly and riding on a donkey, on a colt, the foal of a donkey. Matthew is writing for the Jewish audience. The second difference is the crowd's words slightly expanded. Matthew verse 9, it says, crowds cries, "Hosanna to the Son of David. Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. Hosanna in the highest." The difference of Son of David is emphasized more clearly in Matthew. Mark and Luke focus more on the coming kingdom or the king who comes. Son of David is a direct royal messianic title reinforcing Matthew's kingship theme. When Jesus arrived in Jerusalem, a very large crowd gathered to welcome him. Some of them spread their cloaks on the road for Jesus to ride on, while others cut branches from the trees and spread them on the road. It reminds me of the story of Sir Walter Raleigh, who placed his cloak across a puddle for Queen Elizabeth I as an act of loyalty. We are not told how many lined the streets of Jerusalem, waving palm branches and not cloaks, but shouting Hosanna. People were treating Jesus like a king. The Palm Sunday crowd had travelled from Galilee. Possibly there were a crowd of loud northerners, which, coming from north myself, can relate to, jubilant in the company of their loyal prophet, but baffling to the Jerusalem locals who would have avoided commotions for fear of the Romans. In contrast, the Good Friday crowd were locals suspicious of the northerner with his troublesome supporters. Crowds are made of human beings and are subject to the faults and weaknesses of humanity. It's not so different from football crowds, is it? Fans go from cheering to booing in minutes, from gentleness to aggression. Some only sing when the team is winning. Many of us have been in crowds where the atmosphere suddenly shifts, where excitement tipped into hostility. One person sees hope, another sees threat, one sees opportunity, another sees danger. And right in the middle of it all is Jesus, refusing violence, refusing force, refusing to play by the usual rules of power. No one who dominates, but one who serves. No one who conquers, but one who loves. Not one who rides a war horse, but one who chooses a donkey. May we let go of violence in all its forms. May we be open to gentleness, and may the gentle King guide our souls in peace today. The Palm Sunday story reminds us that Jesus demonstrates a different kind of power, not arriving on a gold carriage with a large army, but one rooted in gentleness, vulnerability, and love. So as we enter Holy Week, may we stop, reflect on Jesus' arriving to Jerusalem as King. May we let go of any violence and embrace gentleness. Two questions I want to leave with you. The first is, where in your own lives are we tempted to respond with force, control, or aggression, whether outwardly or inwardly? Secondly, how can we make time this week to journey with Jesus, to walk with him from the cheers of Palm Sunday to the silence of the cross, and ultimately to the hope of resurrection? May the gentle King guard your soul in peace today.